Alright, today was an absolute banger of a leg session. I started off with warming up my legs and my hips and my ankles pretty well, as before, when I didn't warm up properly, I felt restrictions when wanting to perform certain exercises. So today I did a lot of hip activation and making sure that my hips and the rotation with them are pretty good. The first part of this move is just activating the hips, and then this part that I'm doing on the second part, which is the rotation, is really to warm up the rotation in the hip itself. So with whichever movement I'm doing, which will be a sideways movement, it is then good for the legs to be used to that movement. But today was a day that I wanted to really focus on my weaknesses and try and improve some parts, or at least see exactly where those weaknesses are and how I can really improve them. Because of course we have days that we do not feel the best and we can't really perform the best. However, the saying keep on keeping on is always useful. However, many people say practice makes perfect, but I strongly disagree with that. It is perfect practice makes perfect. So therefore I'm giving a lot more attention to what I'm doing these days and not what I'm doing, and the how is much more important, because everyone can exercise, but if you don't do it properly, then you're not really going to get much better. So for me, at least, I'm trying to improve with every session. And here was so before with this, my back was a lot more rounded, and when I was in the bottom position, I went maybe a bit too far down, which curved my back too much. And now I'm basically just going parallel to the ground, and I can keep my back straight by also pushing my head, my chest up, and trying to keep my back a bit more in a straight line than a curve. Here, of course, it's extremely important for me to loosen up the front part of my shin, between my foot and my shin, so that tendon that's over there, it's extremely tight for me, and if you don't do it properly, you get a lot of restriction with knees over your toes, so you can't get the sufficient move that you want with certain exercises, and you would feel that, or especially for me, I do feel that I have lots of restrictions and limitations with my form if my ankles aren't loose and warm. So for me, this is now becoming an extremely important part of warming up. Whether I am going to do single leg pistol squat type thing or just squats, it doesn't matter. It is extremely important to do this very well. So I did this for 2 sets. The second set I'm not showing here, however, it was just as good as this one, maybe even a little bit better. And just getting to that final part of the stretch really helps to loosen it up. And a band, I think, is the best, because you can move as much as you want to the front to get as much tension on that tendon which you want to loosen up a little bit. And then, of course, just doing a bit of bodyweight squats just to warm up my knees a bit better, because my first exercise is going to be single leg pistol squats. So of course, just doing squats like this, it's really fast movement and it's not really heavy. However, you can feel your quads and knees firing up. So if I'm looking at my old pistol squat videos, I think my form has been improving quite a bit since then. I think I've been doing pistol squats now for roughly about, I would say maybe 3 weeks now, not even a month yet. And just by doing these warm-ups that you've seen now really helped me to be able to perform this movement much better and actually get strength and power through my knee. Of course, I feel that my current leg that's performing, so my right leg, has a lot more difficulty performing this exercise in comparison to my left. So my left is really good. I also don't feel as unstable doing this with shoes. I'm not entirely sure how rounded one's back can or must be when doing this, but I do feel on this leg that is showing right now, so my right leg, that my back is a lot more rounded, and I think that can be a limitation due to my flexibility that I still have within my ankle, my knee, and as well as my hip. It could also be that my back isn't loose enough because I didn't do any back warm-ups. So I think I can also incorporate that next time, and then also stretch the hamstrings out even a bit more. Because the looser you are before you start, the better you can do pretty much most exercises, because your muscles aren't restricting you from a proper move. So here I feel that I'm doing it better, but I'm also getting tired, so my form is not as good anymore, even though I think it should have actually improved over time. But I think my reason is that I've just become a bit tired with some of the moves, and therefore some of the stability muscles that is working over time by doing one leg exercises is really suffering. So of course when I'm doing this, I think my leg that is just hanging should be a lot straighter, but that will improve over time as I do exercise my hip flexors more and my lower abs to keep that upright. Then just to check things out from behind, it's important for me to see how does my spine look. Is it tilted? Is it curved? Where does my knee go? Where does my ankle give in? And here I can see a lot of my weight is on the inside of my foot, and I don't know if I should have my foot placed a bit more pointing inwards to kind of help with that. But here you can see that even when doing this, my leg is working so much and I can't keep it steady throughout the move. So it's a little bit worrisome, but I would say this is still a lot better than where I started. And because I'm trying to really improve my flexibility and stability with single legs, or at least with exercises that focuses on one particular muscle group at a time. So here it is just on the one leg. So here I'm doing it without shoes, and I think it's a lot better. I can see a lot more how my feet move. And on the previous one, I could see that my foot is still really giving in. My ankle has that problem that there's not enough mobility down there, and therefore it rolls in. But with this, I did spread my toes out a lot more to try and stabilize it. But before, you saw that I did the stability exercise or the balance exercise on a buso ball, and that was really good. So maybe I can do that even as well. So adding in a couple of more warm-ups, such as the balancing on the buso ball. I could also incorporate a bit more of a rotational back warm-up, and also like a cat-cow, and then also warming up my hamstrings a bit more. So I think adding like 4 to 5 more different types of warm-ups to my leg routine would really help me to perform everything even much better. So yeah, then I went over to do some Bulgarian split squats. Also, these are amazing for leg growth. Even though my legs aren't very big, I'm going to start doing these a lot more. As my toe goes over my foot quite a bit over here, it is greater for quad growth and development. If it's a bit more, let's say if my lower leg portion is just staying vertical and not moving too much, it means that the part on which I am exerting the force is not always going to be on my quad, but it might be more hamstring and glute. So this was really like the perfect combination for me, because I really want to build my quads and make them a bit bigger. And 18 kilos is actually not that heavy, but for not doing this exercise for a very long time, it feels that it is quite a good weight to test myself out after doing the split squats. So now doing the Bulgarian version also can help me to improve my split squats, as the quad will become stronger over time doing the single leg exercise. So then of course went over to a staple exercise, which of course is just a barbell squat. And unfortunately here in this video I cannot see my feet moving, because the video is angled too high. But I do think I open my hips up way too much that my knees go past my pinky toe, or that it might be very close to that region, and that's not so good for the entire leg and knee movement. So I should try and keep it as close to the mid of my foot. So the angle in which my knees are traveling should not surpass my pinky toe. Try and at least be in the middle of my foot. So here it doesn't look too bad. I would say this is pretty much where it should be. Of course I'm having a bit of a wider stance, as I need to make up for the lack of mobility that I have within my hips. Hopefully later on I can have better mobility by the right exercises, and then reach the depth that I want with a better stance. So I still have a bit of a butt wink that I have, and my lower back and core isn't as tight as what it should be. You can see every time I'm getting past parallel and I'm pushing from parallel, that my bum shoots up a bit, and therefore my lower back also moves. At some point in this training day I could feel that I use my lower back a bit too much, but not excessively much like before. I could feel that it was a bit used where I shouldn't have actually used it. So you're just lifting the weight up again, because it was a bit more, or my body was a bit more to the left, so the weight would have been hanging from the right side. And because I haven't been doing heavy squats for a long time, I didn't feel too confident doing too many reps here. But for me, what I've done here was more than enough, and I do feel the heavier the weight is, the less butt wink I have, and the more stable my body is, as I am really focused on not causing any injury from this point on forward. So I think up to this point I felt very good about my leg session so far, having 2 very good single leg exercises and a great squat session as well. But then I wanted to do this where I want to train portions which I don't necessarily always exercise, and this of course helps to not use a spring movement or not use kinetic energy that's stored within the muscle, but rather just explode and actually just use the muscle from a dead stop position. So this really fired up my legs, and of course doing front squats definitely helped by keeping my back more upright. It's also good to exercise, because if you don't necessarily do it very often, it's something that you do lack stability wise. So I do think I can actually drop those rails even by 1 or 2 points even. So it can be a little bit lower, so I can come out of the depth and just build that power. Then again went into back squats, but the same thing where it's a dead stop, and it's really building the power from that move, because I think most of the time that is where one would struggle, or especially in my situation, that is where I'm struggling. But at the end of all of this, at 100 kilos doing dead stop, I was pretty tired. I would say I could feel my hamstrings and glutes working pretty hard, but I was happy with what I was able to achieve here. That was a grinder. Then just to finish off the exercise, I went to do just adductors and abductors, as they are also very important for the overall leg development. I didn't do glute bridges today, but I'll definitely do that next time. And the thing with this is, if you don't really train your adductor, so the inside part of your leg, it's really necessary for you to warm them up even at this point. So I actually started off a bit heavy, and I could feel that the adductors are working overtime. So I would definitely advise to warm them up with a lighter weight first, and then go and do heavy exercises. So for this I did 3 sets of each, but all exactly the same like this. So all in all, a great session, and I think I've actually made great progress since I started this series with my legs. And if there's anything else that you guys want to find out, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.